Good evening. Welcome to Women Overpowering Abuse, brought to you by Brown Diamonds Production. I'm your host, Shanathia. We have a couple of ladies here tonight that's going to share their stories in regards to abusive relationships, the things they went through to get them out of the relationships, and what was the last straw. Please stay tuned and enjoy the stories coming to you by these ladies.
My name is Katherine. I like to be called Kathy. I'm 54 years old. And I'm going to tell you about some of the abuse I suffered as a young child up until the age of now, up until the age that the abuse stopped. So I'm going to be telling my story about how you can overcome it, okay?
So how long was it that you was into the relationship before it became abusive?
I think the first year, because when I met him, I was 17 and he was 29. And about 18, I became pregnant with our first child, and that's when the abuse started. It started out with a slap in the face.
Okay. And how many times did you try to leave the relationship before you truly left the relationship?
I left several times. The first time I packed up when I was 8 months pregnant with our first child, and I moved back home with mom and dad. That didn't last long. About 3-4 months later, he talked me back into coming back, so I went back. And another time I tried to leave is when I actually had my first daughter, and I went back. Not even 6 months later, I was back. So I would say about 3 times I tried to leave.
And then during this time, did you ever fight back in the situation, like when the fights or anything would happen? Would you ever fight back, protect yourself at any time?
When it first started, I didn't because I was scared. I didn't. I went ahead and I allowed the abuse because I felt like if I would try to fight him back, he would kill me. Mm-hmm. So I would allow it to happen. But there did become a time when I did start to fight back. Yes.
Awesome. So what was the final straw? What was the last thing that just broke the camel's back and he was like, enough?
Okay, I had a son previous to the marriage. So my son came to me one day, he was 10 years old, and he said, Mom, if he hits you again, I'm going to kill him. And something went off in my mind at that time, I have to get my kids out of this. Mm-hmm. And that's when I got the courage to leave.
And sometimes how bad would it get?
It would be so bad till he would put a gun to my head and say, if you move me, I'll blow your brains out. So I would have to let him do whatever he had to do to me in order to not for him to kill me and my children.
So when you say you had to allow him to do whatever he wanted to do, what would be some of the things that would happen during those time frames?
Sex, allowing him to beat me without fighting back, have sex against my will, stuff like that.
Oh, wow. And did
Yes.
this ever happen in front of the kids or anyone? Could anyone see what was going on?
Yes, the kids seen it. And that's what really pushed my 10-year-old to tell me that if he hit you again, I'm going to kill him. Because he didn't care if the kids was around. He would always, he would fight even if the kids was around. He didn't care.
So he wouldn't harm the kids?
No, he didn't harm the kids, only me.
So would it happen like in public, or would it just be at home behind closed doors? What would be some of the scenarios that would take place when the abuse would take place?
It's at home behind closed doors. It would never happen out in the open, and I think he was just a coward to where he would just want to fight me when it's just me and him one-on-one. Yes.
And how many years did you stay into this type of relationship?
10 years. 10 years.
And then how long has it been since you've been free of the abuse?
I've been free of the abuse. My daughter is 35 years old, so it's been about 30-some years. Yes.
And you feel relief. Have you ever come into another relationship of that magnitude?
Not of that magnitude, but I have been in some relationships. It may have been mental, but not physical. Yes.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kahija, and I'm here to tell my story on me being in an abusive relationship. I was 13 years old. I met a guy, which I believe he was 22. I lied to my parents about his age, never once lied to him about mine. One day I go over to his house, and we're having a good time. He was always the nicest guy to me. Gave me everything I wanted. There was nothing he wouldn't give me. Very well mannered. And then one day I'm over to his house and he get ready to walk me home. And we were playing with each other, pushing each other back and forth, back and forth. And then that last push, I pushed him really hard. Well, he retaliated by slapping me into a ditch. Well, I got up out that ditch and he tried to apologize and I'm sorry this and I'm sorry that, but I got up and ran home, never once told my mom or any of my family members what really happened because I was too ashamed on what had happened. And besides, I knew I still cared about this gentleman. About, I think 2 years later, we moved in together. I ended up getting pregnant with our first child. And he choked me so bad one day to the point to where I couldn't breathe. His sister had to come get him off me, and mind you, I'm 7 months pregnant. And that wasn't the last incident. There was also another incident to where he choked me until I passed out. And when I came to, I was in a tub full of cold water and he's down on his knees praying. It never gets better. And
that's good.
So, you said you was 13 years old
Correct.
when it started. How soon in the relationship did it start again?
We've been talking for a while. So I'm going to probably say a year or so. Within a year.
So, did you ever see, like you felt like he was going to get better or it wasn't going to happen again, or?
You always have that hope. You always have hope that this person that you love is going to eventually not harm you. You always have that hope.
And how many years did you stay in the relationship?
3 years.
And tolerated all the abuse
3
during that
years.
time? So what would you say was just really just drew the line for it, and it was just like, did you get, and when it drew the line, did you get help with anyone on the outside? How did you just break free from it?
I had a daughter, and I refused to subject her to that abuse. I loved him more than myself. I loved her more than the both of us put together. So I knew for a fact that is not how I want my daughter to grow up. She could not witness her mom getting beat. And the reason being is because she's going to think that that is normal. And that is not what I wanted to drill into my child's head. So that was my breaking point. I had to go. I had to. Because or else my daughter would have grew up having men beat on her because she thinks it's normal.
Right.
So I had to show her different than what, not actually, she didn't actually see it. She was a baby when it was going on, but she didn't actually see anything, but she did hear the stories. And honestly, when a child hears her stories about their mother being abused, they want to know. I wasn't the type of parent to tell her. You get what I'm saying? I pushed that back on her dad's side. You need to go talk to them, because honestly, I didn't want to badmouth him, regardless of what he did to me, and that's it. That's basically it.
So at any time during this, would you try to fight back?
Oh yeah, I stabbed him with a screwdriver. But it always got worse when I fought back.
Right.
It always got worse, and it makes you feel that if I just let him do it, then it'll be over with before you know it. But if you're fighting back, it's like he's going to eventually try to kill you because you're trying to defend yourself, and that ain't what they want. They want you to be weak and scared. So by you showing that you have some type of power, that you or have some type of, I guess, courage or something to fight back, I guess that gives them a reason to come full force at you. So.
And I would say, have you ever been in another relationship as bad as that, or another abusive relationship, or did you just shut down and just made it all about yourself and your child?
No, I met a guy after this, shortly after I was done. Guy was nice, same characteristics. He was nice, gave me a key to his place. I was able to come and go as I pleased. There was he was giving me things, and I had access to his stuff. Me being young, didn't realize that he was already in a relationship with me. He considered me as his woman. You know what I'm saying? And me, he's my friend. So one day I'm over his house and his boss man came to talk with him. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go to the house and I'll be right back. That man jumped on top of me. I'm sitting on his couch and he choked me into that couch and told me I better not go nowhere. And I knew right then and there, either I can fold or I can be strong and move. He left out that house, hit the corner, and I watched him hit that corner, and I peeled up out there like no tomorrow. And he came to get me. He came running down to my house to snatch me. And just so happened I have homeboys. They pulled up on the side of him, get in the car. She's with her child's father. Just so happened he was there. I ran home so fast till he's sitting there and I jumped in the car with him, telling him to drive off. And he's like, I'm not going nowhere. What's going on? Where you running from? So he gets out the car and I'm scared. I'm shaking. I'm scared. I know this man finna hit me because I've already been through an abusive relationship. So I know what's coming next. And somehow, some way, they persuade him, get in this car, we're going to take you home. And I dealt with this guy no more. I was done. I was too done. And I haven't actually, to be honest, I haven't ever been in another abusive relationship after that. No.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you for your time and your story and sharing with us. Hopefully it's going to touch another one.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robin Rigsby and I'm 34 years old. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I'm here to talk about how I overcame an abusive relationship. I was 19 when I met my abuser. We were both young. I had a child from a previous relationship, and at the time I felt like no one would want me because I was a young mom, so I kind of settled for this relationship, and unfortunately it was an abusive relationship. When it first started, I was like, this is minor. I don't have a bruise on my face. There's no broken bones or anything, so it's okay. And I hid it from my family. I hid it from friends. This continued for 8 years. I was with this person for 8 years, and it was happening in front of my kids. I lost apartments, places to stay. My cars were damaged and everything behind this relationship, so it was very, very toxic. My final straw is when he was shot by a family member of mine, so it got very bad. But I just would advise anybody that's in an abusive relationship to get out of it because it's not worth it. And I lost a lot of my years trying to maintain a relationship, thinking that it was the right thing to do because we had kids. But yeah, it was just bad. I wouldn't wish that on nobody. And if you're in it, please get out of it.
So Robin, you said that you was in this relationship for 8 years. Mm-hmm. How long was it in the relationship before it got abusive? How long were you guys together before the abuse began?
I would say we were probably together for at least 3 years, and then his true colors started showing. Everything was smooth in the beginning because he was trying to win me over, of course, but it got
3 years?
Yeah, for 3 years.
So you had no abuse, no nothing for 3 years?
No, I mean, no signs, none of that. We were young, so we were trying to, I don't know, but things turned bad after 3 years.
After 3. And when you say turned bad, did it just go from bad from 0 to 100 or 1,000 real quick, or it was just the little things, just, you have a little argument right here and then it might be a slap or a drag or...
It went from arguing to being physically abusive, mentally abusive. It got... Yeah, he was very, very abusive, and I think it was more so because he was dealing with insecurities of his own that he wasn't able to deal with. So he would take it out on me, and like I said, I had kids before the relationship, so I felt like no one would want me, so I just settled for what I had with him.
So when you say settle, did you ever try to walk away from the relationship? Did you reach out for help or anything at any time?
Honestly, no. In the beginning, I didn't because I hid it from family and friends. I didn't want anybody to know. Mm-hmm. But towards the end, when I did get the courage to leave, is when he was shot by a family member of mine. So with him being shot, I kind of sympathized with him, and I felt bad for him. And I stayed another year. So it was kind of like a tug of war thing with me because I had love for him, but it was toxic. And when it was time to leave, I left.
So you never went back?
I never went back.
Okay, so you just stayed away from it.
I stayed away from it, and I never, as of now, the relationship that I'm in now, I won't deal with it. I won't put up with it. Any sign of it, I will run. I will leave. I can't accept it. anymore. And when I left him, that's when I learned my worth. So, yeah.
Okay, that's so beautiful. I appreciate you taking the time to share your stories.
Hi, my name is Brianna, and I am here to discuss my story regarding domestic violence to try to help someone with their story. Hopefully that this will help young women behind me in going forward with their stories. Okay, I was 15 when I met my abuser. He was older, a lot older. He was actually an adult. The abuse started around when I was 16. The first time that it happened, I actually tried to leave him. And we started driving down this long, dark road. This is before Simpson Stewart had built all the houses, and it was nothing but woods and dark. So he told me that he was going to make it easy for me. It was going to be quick. He was just going to break my neck because I was in too deep. So he couldn't let me move on or be with someone else because I knew too much. So he was going to snap my neck and make it easy where I wouldn't feel any pain. So we eventually started fighting in the car, and I had to talk my way out of that situation. Years later, I had 3 children by him. There was an incident where I decided to leave him and move on. At that time, he found out where the guy I was talking to lived. Long story short, the house was shot up while we were inside. He wound up going to prison behind it. After that, I still married him. You know, you think it's going to change. You think he's going to change no matter if he stops drinking, no matter how much counseling you have. If he'll do it once, he'll do it again. It's going to happen over and over. The first time he hits you, run. The first time that he raises his voice and acts like he's going to choke you, whether it's a slap, he pulls your hair. At the time when I met my ex, I was 110, 105, a size 2. I started gaining weight years after I had all of my children. My weight became a problem in the relationship. So insecurity set in with me because when you have someone that you love or thinks that they love you and they start downing you, you start taking in and your self-esteem becomes low. Now before, you couldn't tell me anything about my self-esteem because it was simply high. But when, like I said, when you start dealing with someone, your self-esteem becomes low when they start telling you that you're too big and you're not good enough, and then they start having affairs with people that are younger and smaller than you. So it takes a toll on you. I left my relationship 2 years ago. Finally divorced, finally happy, living a good life. So if this video is going to help the next woman, I pray that you move on. If you see any sign of abuse, anger, run. Get away as fast as you can because it's not going to change. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family.
That's good.
So it sounds to me that you was in this for a long haul, for a long term. So how long was it before the abuse started in the relationship?
I was 16. We met when I was 15.
So was it like right in the beginning of the relationship?
No, in
or
the
it
beginning of
took
the relationship,
months?
no, he spoiled me riding. I mean, a 15-year-old driving, you have your own car, you have money, you're good. He gives you the world. So you think you got a good guy.
Right. So would you say maybe once you maybe moved in with them or anything, was it like years into the relationship?
No, it was pretty much immediate, but the thing about it was we didn't fight if he wasn't drinking or if it wasn't something that happened, you know, and I won't lie. Not all the times did he start the fight.
I was going to ask, at any time...
I fought back. I'm a fighter.
So you did
I'm
fight
not
back
scared
then.
of you, but when you start bringing weapons in, that's a big issue. When you're being threatened to leave, when he's following you to your sister's house, he's following you to your family's house, he has your friend's address. There was an incident. I went to my best friend's house. I tried to leave him. I told him, I said, her husband has a friend and we're going to go to dinner. He stood outside our house with an SK. saying, so she actually had to let him in the house so he could walk through and see that another man was not there.
So would you say it was more dangerous when you tried to leave him as opposed to staying with him?
Yes. Anytime I tried to leave, it became very dangerous.
So it became like stalker behavior,
Yes,
knowing every moment of
absolutely.
it.
Leave out that door and I will kill you.
So you felt like maybe it was safer for you just to stay in the relationship.
Mm-hmm. I didn't want my kids to grow up in a separate house outside of their dad. I wanted what I didn't have. I wanted my kids to have a family. So that's what they had until they graduated from high school.
So they witnessed the abuse?
Oh, yeah.
Did it ever happen to them or anything?
No.
Okay. So you protected your
Yeah,
children.
I kill you behind my kids.
So it
was just me.
So they would hear it or they would see it?
Sometimes they saw it. A lot of times they heard it.
Okay. So so you say you're happy now. So you haven't had any...
So at peace when you figure out who you are, and once you leave a bad situation, you realize that there are good guys out here. They've always been out here, and they'll love you no matter what size you are, how you are. I have this peace that I'm not going to let anybody else come in and interrupt my peace. I don't have to argue with you. I don't have to fight with you. I don't have to raise my voice to you. If I have to do that, I'll leave you alone. It's not worth my time and my peace or my energy.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story with us, and I hope it helps some women out there going through the same thing with all the ladies. So I appreciate you and thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shanathia Prater, and I'm going to be one of the last stories of the evening and how I survived through an abusive relationship. When I went through an abusive relationship, I was, I'm going to say 20, freshly moved down to Texas, living the life coming from Oklahoma, so I was living the life. Ran across a young man, thought he was all that in a bag of chips, you know, and it was good. I mean, mine was very quick, and it was just, when I got into the relationship, I knew I should have walked away when we was going down 75, and in the middle of the highway, he decided to stop the car and was like, you know, I'm gonna kill you. I'm mad, I'm gonna kill you, you don't deserve to live. Started the car back up, went down the highway some more, took me into some wooded areas and everything, parked me deep in there, and we was running throughout the car because he was going to leave me there and do something to me, and it was just like, okay, and I was just sitting there the whole time praying, like, Lord, let me just get out of this. And luckily he was just like, get in the car, we drove off, but I should have known then to walk away, and no, I didn't. I was young and dumb. And besides, I was freshly down here, I had nobody, so it was kind of like a safe haven. But what really did it, and what really kind of was the first and last straw, was we went out one night and he got mad at me because some guy looked at me and I wasn't walking beside him, I was walking behind him, and he felt that I was inappropriate and I needed to learn a lesson for it. So once we got into the house, we lived upstairs and downstairs, he beat my ass for an hour and a half straight. And it started from downstairs. We was in the living room. He was just tearing me up. And this guy was a boxer. So it was no sense. And he dragged me into the kitchen, and it was at the time, Crown World had a big, huge bottle at the top. It lit up when you poured it out. It was a big, huge bottle, and he was standing over me. He's like, I'm going to beat your ass with it. I'm going to kill you. And I just kept screaming, just don't do this. And he went and dropped the bottle. He took me and was beating me from out the kitchen. He beat my ass all the way upstairs. He beat my ass into the bedroom, the closet, the bathroom. And he just was sitting there. I was like literally a punching bag. But I really wasn't screaming. I wasn't crying. I wasn't doing any of this. And what made him stop was that he had me in the corner, and it was just like it's flashback, and he had me in the corner, and he was just like, why aren't you fighting? Why aren't you doing anything? Why aren't you? And it was just like, what's the point? If I do it, it's just going to get worse, and it's already been going on for this length of time. And it was just like, no. And it made him stop. But when it stopped, I was hostage for about 2 weeks. And when I say I was hostage, I had to get straight in the bed. I couldn't move. I couldn't get up. I couldn't do anything. So that night I had to stay in the bed until he decided to get out the bed the next day. I didn't know what I looked like. When I woke up, I was just sore. When I finally was able to go to the bathroom and I had to look at myself, never before in my life have I ever seen myself in this predicament. And I was black and blue from head to toe. And when I say head to toe, I was black and blue, black eyes, arm prints, bruises all over my body. And it was just like I had to ask if I could take a shower just to ease the pain in my body. And it was just in that time I cried and I blamed myself because I knew when he drove me down that highway I should have left. What got me out of the relationship, I actually hid in a closet. I heard him coming in the house and I hid in the closet underneath a whole bunch of trash bag that had a lot of stuff in it. It was a big closet. And for like an hour and a half, I was underneath all of this stuff because he had his friends over. He didn't know I was at home. He didn't know what was going on, but I heard a whole bunch of the conversation, what was going on and what was going to partake. And what scared me is because he opened up the closet to get some stuff because he was actually claiming he was going to leave. And I thought he might have seen me, and I knew the repercussions of that action. He walked out of that door that day and he never returned. Well, he returned, but just to get his stuff, I disappeared from the area I was in, and I learned a lesson in regards to this. If it's going to happen, ladies, my life, it was just too much. I was young. I was a hard-headed. I thought I was Billy Badass, you know, and I prayed through all of this to where I was lucky enough that I had some saviors come in. I had a whole nother situation take place to where it really pulled me away from the situation. So, I mean, the man was still around. He was right across the street. He just was cheating on me. So it was just like still a scary situation, but I was able to get out. I was able to live through and survive it and never look back. That man is 6 feet under. He got murdered. So karma does come back. Karma is real, but that is my story. I want to just say thank you, ladies, for taking the time to express yourselves and tell us your stories in regards to abusive relationships. We're going to tune into some Q&A at this time. If you don't have to answer any questions if you want to, if you don't want to, but we have a couple of questions for you, ladies.
Can you describe some of the physical abuse y'all had?
Punching, mine was mainly choking and pulling my hair, and I was getting thrown all over the room.
I was punched in the face. I was spit on before. Choked. Yeah.
Punching, slapping, raping, kicking, you name it.
Same for me. It was more so of choking till you passed out. I also endured rape as well. I mean, it was real physical. I mean, always a hit. It was always a blow.
They say that, you know, everything happens for a reason. So if this had not happened, do you believe that you would be the woman that you are today?
No.
I don't. I do not.
No, made me stronger. It made me stronger.
I wasn't a weak woman in the beginning when I first met him. So I feel like what I went through, it did make me stronger, but it also made me more aware and can notice signs really fast. So if I start seeing the signs with a guy that I'm talking to, immediately I drop it. Let it go.
It definitely made me stronger. Definitely. When I was with him, it weakened me. I don't want to say that I was weak or too strong, but yeah, he definitely weakened me. So overcoming this, yeah, that's when I learned my strength. So.
And it was the same for me. I wasn't a weak woman either, or a weak girl. But in this situation, by me going through it, yeah, it made me stronger and made me, with Miss Brianna, aware of the things that you know, the signs, to catch on really quick.
My question is, what advice would you all give the younger generation that's going through it?
If you see the very first sign, when you see the very first sign, if he cuts you out, he started disrespecting you, get out that relationship, because it's going to start with verbal and mental abuse first. Then it's going to come in the hitting. So let it go.
True. That's true.
Always look for the red flags. There are going to be some. In my case, there wasn't any. Not at the beginning. But there are always going to be something that's off about the person. You're going to notice they treating you different. You're going to notice something that's going on that's going to raise a red flag. So I'm with the rest of the panel. You get out. Get out.
Like she said, don't ignore the red flags. In my case, my youth was taken away. I lost a lot of time where I was supposed to be accomplishing goals, taking care of business, but I was trying to maintain or trying to, I guess, help someone with their issues, but was putting myself at risk in the process of it. So, yeah.
Once again, thank you, ladies, for taking the opportunity to share your stories of abuse, and hopefully that can help other women to get out of abusive relationships by just listening to other women of going through the same things. And I just appreciate you taking the time to let us know your stories.
We stand against abuse.
Hi, I'm Shanathia, your host. Thank you for tuning in for Women Overpowering Abuse. I want you to look forward for this episode coming to you soon for Brown Diamond Productions and many more episodes to come. Thank you and have a great day.
My name is Leo King. We want to thank you for tuning in to Women Overpowering Abuse. Be on the lookout for more episodes from Brown Diamond Productions. Our next production will be Men Overpowering Abuse. Be on the lookout.